All right, let's talk about one of the most successful but kind of overlooked businesses out there. And no, it's not some flashy tech startup. It's the surprisingly huge empire built on something incredibly simple: renting empty boxes. And yeah, this quote just nails it right away. An empire built on hoarding? It sounds almost too simple to be a real thing, but trust me, it's a multi-billion-dollar reality. So this brings us to the big question, the one we're really going to dig into here. How on earth does a business that just rents out empty space actually make more money when people have less of it? It just doesn't seem to add up. But it does. Let's find out why. Okay, so to get to the bottom of this, we've got to start with the business model itself. And honestly, its genius isn't in some complicated strategy. It's just how incredibly simple it all is. You know who we're talking about, right? Public storage. You see those iconic orange doors everywhere. They started way back in '72, and their whole deal is super straightforward. They rent you a box month to month. No crazy long-term leases, just simple, flexible space when you need it. But check this out. This is where it gets really smart. Yeah, of course, 3/4 of their cash comes from rent, but that other 25%, that's the real kicker. It's all the extras, the tenant insurance they sell you, the boxes, the tape. It's an absolute goldmine. And this right here is the real aha moment. Just look at the difference. If you own an apartment building, you're constantly dealing with plumbing, HVAC, messy move-outs, complicated laws. It's a headache. But a storage unit? It's a metal box. You sweep it out, and it's ready for the next person. The costs are almost nothing in comparison. So let's just say it plainly. The product is an empty box, and the genius is that it costs almost nothing to run. That's it. That's the secret sauce that makes it such an efficient and resilient business. Okay, so the business model is super lean, super smart. Got it. But now let's get back to that weird paradox. Why does this thing thrive when everyone else is struggling? This is what they call its counter-cyclical edge. Think of it like this, like a chain reaction. It all starts with tough times, right? Someone loses a job. What's the next step? They have to downsize, move into a smaller apartment, or maybe even back in with their parents. But then, what do you do with all your stuff? It won't fit. And boom. That's when a storage unit stops being a nice to have and becomes a have to have. It's the essential bridge to get you through. And you have to remember, there's a huge emotional part to this. When your whole world feels like it's falling apart, your stuff, that's your stability. It's your history. You're not just going to throw it away. So paying for that storage unit becomes a non-negotiable need. It's about holding on to who you are when everything else is up in the air. But look, this isn't just about recessions. That's just when it gets supercharged. The real engine here is something much bigger. It's our weird, complicated, and very human addiction to our stuff. I mean, think about all the reasons. We're constantly buying more things than we have room for. We move around all the time for work or family. Our apartments and houses are getting smaller with no basements or attics. And then there's the emotional side. We can't throw away grandma's old chair. We keep things just in case we need them. Plus, all the big life moments, getting married, divorced, having a baby, all of it creates a need for storage. And the scale of this is just wow. Get this. At any given moment, about 1 out of every 10 households in America is renting a storage unit. It's basically become America's spare closet. So, okay, this demand is obviously not going anywhere. But what's next? I mean, how much can you innovate in an industry that's literally just boxes? Well, it's actually changed a lot. You had the big boom back in the '70s. Then in the 2000s, these giant companies came in and bought up all the little guys. Now, it's all about tech. You can rent a unit from your phone, use an app to open the gate, and looking ahead, with more and more people cramming into cities, the need for space is only going to get bigger. And that brings us to this final thought, which I think sums it up perfectly. Public storage isn't really in the real estate business. They're in the human nature business. They understand our desire to own things, our fear of losing them, and our deep need for a little bit of stability in a world that's always changing. So I'll leave you with this question. Next time you drive by that huge field of orange doors, what are you really looking at? Is it just a bunch of boxes filled with forgotten junk? Or is it something more? Is it kind of like a mirror, reflecting back at us who we are, what we value, and what we're afraid to lose?